Well, welcome back to Hypnosis Everywhere, and we've got a great show for you today because we got a great guest, and I happen to know that he's very good because he's a Simpson Protocol trainer from Belgium. So I'm just going to get him to give you a little bio about himself and a little bit where he comes from, and then we're going to get right into the meat of this show.
Hello, Ines. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
My name is Christophe Dierckx. I'm living in Belgium. I'm a hypnotist, trainer for the Simpson Protocol in Belgium and the Netherlands. And used to have a background of financial trading in stocks and options, and later in commodities trading. But in 2014, I switched.
Big time.
And big time, yeah, 180 degrees. And I started to work as a hypnotist. So that's who I am. We have a fun show to do.
Yeah.
We have a catchy name of this title of the show: Heavenly, Happy, and Healthy. So I think it's worthwhile for the newbies, but also for the more experienced people involved in healing and physical health.
Yeah. And Christophe Dierckx has been on with us twice before, and you can go back in the archives and listen to those shows also. So I'm just going to get Christophe started because this happy and all these other healthy and everything that he's talking about now today is very interesting. So I'm just going to give it to him, and he's going to start where he wants to go.
Well, first, for a quick overview for our listeners. We use hypnosis. We use a combination of trance and spirituality, which is called the Simpson Protocol. First, what we do is the client achieves a profound level of trance, a nice deep state of hypnosis, and then we set up a connection with a wise, for some people something strange, with a wise part which we call the superconscious mind. What is a superconscious mind? Difficult to explain. Maybe it is a combination of the higher mind, of your guidance. In any case, a superconscious mind has a bird perspective. It has an overview, and it knows what is going on in our life, and maybe also other lives. That's also an interesting concept. It has the information which we so desperately need. We set up a feedback system with this superconscious mind, so we can communicate with it. We do this easily by using idiomotoric signals, by setting up finger signals or finger movements, yes finger and a no finger. Setting up a yes or no finger is only to have feedback. Some people can also use their voice, and it's called channeling, but not everyone can use their voice that easy in trance. To move your finger is quite easy for most parts of humanity. And then all the fun begins. So we can ask the superconscious mind any question, any at all, and it will answer with yes or no. So normally in a setup one-on-one working therapy session, a client comes to us with a problem, and you would like to know where the problem is originated and also solve the problem. Now, because we have the help of this superconscious mind, we can verify what the root cause is by asking questions. We can pinpoint and find out what's going on here with this client, and we can also ask to solve the problem. So on the one hand, we have this verification tool, and on the other hand, we have the solution. We have a practical healing, so to speak. And the cause of a problem can be literally anything. You can, and it's impossible to imagine what people are experiencing. It's infinite. It's crazy. In any case, once you have the root cause and once you have healed it, the symptoms are gone. Now, in the early days, hypnosis was used that the therapist gave suggestions to the client. For example, your blood pressure goes down, you feel comforting, etc., etc. Now, by using the connection with the superconscious mind, we as a therapist do not need to do anything at all. All the work and the information is provided by the connection with this superconscious mind. So that's kind of special.
Yes, it is. And it's also, the point is, I think that it comes through the client, for the client. Everything is coming from the client, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the superconscious, but the superconscious is part of them, part of everything, I think.
Yeah.
It's like you say, there's no real definition that we give that, because I don't really like to keep it. I like to keep it open, because it's instead of putting it in a box. So people in class, they'll always say, well, what is that? And I'll say, well, I know what it does and it allows to happen. That's all I can say. And I said, never want to just make it so that it's something in a little box. And I think we minimize things all the time in life by boxing it up and saying, this is what it is, the definition. And it's usually too small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In any case, it has always been part of humanity.
Yeah.
During all times, and it is wise. And for me, it has an expert function. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to do anything, and I can ask the expert and go with the flow. Yep. So it's an extra support.
Yeah.
I would like to go back a few radio shows ago where you had the pleasure of interviewing Bruce Lipton.
Yeah, that was an awesome show.
That was awesome. Bruce Lipton is truly a pioneer in research, what happens in the brain, but also what's going on in the body. And he was one of the first in the 70s, I believe, in stem cell research.
Yeah.
Now, I already had the knowledge. What Bruce was telling was not. He had books and audios, but during the show, something was really.
It gelled things together for you.
It
brought things together. Yeah.
Indeed, the Bruce Lipton is saying, well, it's not the stem cell of itself which is important. It's the environment which will define the transformation or the outcome, what the stem cell will become.
Yeah.
Will it become a bone cell? Will it become a muscle cell? Will it become a fat cell? It's the environment which is which will define what it will become. Now, I was just thinking, well, we are working with this superconscious mind. It goes beyond the subconscious mind. Can we ask to guide this process? And earlier, I studied with some Russian people who were famous in the 80s and the 90s about the regeneration of organs. And I started to combine the two aspects, asking the superconscious mind if it would be beneficial with a client who had trouble, for example, with his kidneys or with his liver, if it would be beneficial that the superconscious mind managed the process of the stem cell and also creating the correct environment so the organ can rejuvenate, can regenerate more easily. And it seems to be the case. So we are now able to use the best of both worlds, and asking the help of this wise part of us to actually optimize the regeneration process, which is quite impressive, I think.
I think so. So it's going to be interesting to see how this now becomes totally part of how we work. And, you know, because we're always, what you were saying too, is you always ask superconscious mind, is it appropriate, beneficial, or optimum for the client to have this? And after that, it can do anything that it seems optimum to do, right?
Indeed, indeed. And I think it should be worthwhile for science to know this, but I think it's difficult to catch up for them. This idea of spontaneous remission or
Yeah.
to have a most optimal health, because in order to explain, you have to broaden your vision, and you have to incline different aspects of 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 healing, and spirituality is one of them. I don't know if you had any luck in combining or explaining to the regular medicine, but for me it was difficult.
I don't think we have, but has there been a time so far that you have got experience of this in the work?
I once had a presentation with some doctors who were asking me, well, you have no idea what hypnosis is. We know we have some feedback of clients, so let's invite you, and you can do a demo and explain us what everything is. And I thought, okay, how am I going to explain those doctors the concept of the superconscious mind? Which is kind of difficult, because spirituality is not exactly part of their day-to-day world. I'm not generalizing. I guess there are doctors who do it, but in this case, this group was certainly not up to date. And I brought someone in trance as a demo, and I explained them, well, I'm going to address now not only, or I'm going to address now the subconscious mind, but I'm going to say superconscious mind, because it feels much better for me. Is that also okay for you? The client said yes. All the doctors said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I did a whole session, and I was doing my regular job. All the doctors, they had the impression that I was talking to the subconscious mind, and I was working with the superconscious mind. And well, at the end, we had a fun demo, and everyone was satisfied, and they were blown away of the results. So I think there are ways to move around, but I think it would be beneficial for everyone that we're all on the same page, and incline it in our day-to-day life.
Well, you know what I call it? I call it a holistic practice. It means that we address everything, including the spirituality, and including all aspects of the body, mind, and spirit, pretty much. And I think when you're working with superconscious mind, it leaves you the opening to allow anything. And it still matters what the client is open to accepting. So because the superconscious mind always does whatever the client wants for an outcome. So if we can boost their belief in themselves, if we can make them be open to possibility, we can actually probably achieve anything. Would you agree?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So, but science is finding out that with the quantum stuff, you know, they're always finding out things, and they find it in the mind. Now, is the mind the brain? I personally don't really think so. I think it's a receiver in the body. It's a thing that functions in the body. It's a thing that transmits. It's a thing that everything is needed. But I really believe in my world that the mind is much bigger than that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And yeah, much yet to be explored.
Yes.
It's infinite. It's infinite.
Yeah. That's why I
Um,
always talk about we are the last frontier. We're exploring all these aspects of the mind. Maybe we should wear Star Trek shirts.
Absolutely.
But this is a mind-opening show. This is not about just we are going to get you to stop smoking. This is about anything that could happen in your any possibilities. And Christophe has been probing everywhere, all kinds of different things. So this whole thought of regenerating organs may seem crazy to many people, but know that if your body is regenerating anyway all the time, but it only goes back to the past cell. So it's always aging, it's always doing whatever it's doing. So Christophe says now we could actually have a super conscious mind to go back in time and put in a stem cell.
Yeah,
And
the
with
good thing
love.
is you have absolutely, you don't need to know what is going on.
Oh,
Probably there are billion processes every second,
yeah.
and the conscious mind is a manager of that
Yeah.
bunch of processes, and it knows what to do.
So yeah, we're going to go to break in about a minute. So maybe just tie this up a little bit for them, and then we'll go to break and continue after in 30
Yeah,
seconds.
we will continue after the break with also different physical healing, and I think it will be worthwhile joining us
Okay.
after the break.
Okay. So we're going to break now. We'll see you on the other side.
All right, you're clear.
Well, welcome back to this great show. And I'm just going to go straight to Christophe because we sort of left you hanging there before the break. And we're just going to talk you a little bit more about where these ideas are going. You know, we can have expansive ideas, open to possibilities, what I call it. So, Christophe, you want to just keep going where you were and we'll explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. But to be honest, I like all this experimental stuff based on a practical manner.
Yes.
In my early 30s, I had sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped breathing 37 times an hour during the night, which was exhausting me like crazy. And I got in touch, not physical, but I read some books about this certain doctor, German doctor Hammer, and he in 1981 or 1982 he had testicle cancer, and he solved it by himself, and by before he got the testicle cancer, his son was shot with a gun. And to make a very long story short, the mourning process which he had with his son, once he had dealt with that, his testicle cancer disappeared. And he was quite surprised. He was a head of internal medicine of a big hospital. So he started to questioning other patients in his hospital, certainly cancer patients or patients who had really severe issues. And he asked them, did anything happen in your life which was quite profound just before you had the cancer in your body? And they all said yes. So he really dug into it, and he found out for about 300 diseases, he found out what the root cause was for each disease. And I was reading his book, and I was quite surprised to find out that also sleep apnea had an emotional issue as a root cause. To be honest, two, not just one, but two. And by dealing with these issues, because of his books, I was able to find out where the root causes were, and I was able to deal with it. I was able to let go of my sleep apnea, and that was for me the moment that I was absolutely sure, hey, I am creating my own disease, and I am the only one who has the key to solve it. Now, there are more people during history who have told that. It's not only just this Dr. Hamer, but in most cases they said, well, these are the emotional issues, and these are the symptoms which are related. But then you have some kind of a, it's okay to have a verification, but you still need the healing. And then it's quite handy that you can use the hypnosis, especially the Simpson Protocol, to do the healing, to do the work, to go to self-love, to heal the root cause, and also to give some support during the healing process. But I do want to stress out that our way of work has the verification of the issue, but also the healing. You know, that's really important. Now, this Dr. Hamer is quite an impressive guy. He died in 2017 in Norway. But hey, he's passed away. Because we are working in the trance and having the connection with the superconscious mind, I thought, well, I have this cancer patient in my client. Is it possible for me to access the information that was provided to Dr. Hamer? And maybe it's possible to access the core of this person. He is already passed away, but working together with the superconscious mind provides it with a whole new bunch of possibilities. And I found out that it was possible to make this connection. And it has been really helpful for me when I have a cancer patient in my chair to make a connection also specifically with the knowledge of Dr. Hamer and with, if people like it, also with the core or with the energy of Dr. Hamer. Some people can actually see a doctor next to them. So you can, it is not only a broad superconscious mind, it's kind of, it's a concept, it can be anything.
It can be anything, but it's also because in the field, everything is always in the field. It's always there, isn't it?
Exactly. And I'm not a medium. I have no idea how to access and communicate with dead people. I have no idea. But in the trance, it suddenly becomes possible for me or for the client.
Yeah.
And as I had a warm feeling towards this Dr. Hammer, because I healed myself because his knowledge, and I
Yeah.
knew his work was fundamental and it was the truth. So I was able, or I am able, like everyone else is able, to access this information and let do the superconscious mind all the work, and bring him in the session and say, hey, what's going on here, and can you help me? Which is quite spectacular. Because there are also, during history, there were other people who had quite specific knowledge. For example, Dr. Bates, Dr. William Horatio Bates. Um, he has written a book, Better Eyesight Without Glasses,
Hmm.
in 1920. He was probably the first surgeon who actually said, well, if you have an eye problem, if you wear glasses, um, the muscles around the eyeball are affected, and you need to train, or you need to relax the eye muscles around the eyeball. Now, I already had this experience with Dr. Hammer in my session. And one time, a person with glasses came in the office. I said, well, would you like to do something with the improvement of your eyesight? Because I have the impression we can also do some miracles with that. And just as I made a connection through the superconscious mind with Dr. Hammer, I asked in this particular case to make a connection with the information of Dr. Bates. And the yes finger popped up. It was possible. And I asked, well, Dr. Bates, now we are here. Are you willing to help me? Yes. How wonderful is that? Client said, well, I don't know what's going on here, but I feel something, there is work done on my eyes. Um, because we do a lot of therapy during a normal, a regular session with the super conscious mind. We do the inner child. We know that it's important that our client is having the feeling of being worthy of having a good physical health, of
Yeah.
having self-love. Once that is established, the root causes are solved, and you give your clients a hand, you give your clients a little push by actually optimizing the physical regeneration of that, by, if you have problem with your eyes, asking the help of this Dr. Bates. If you have problem with cancer, asking the help of Dr. Hammer, you can do miracles. And you do not need to know anything about it. Just asking is enough. This portal goes open, this door goes open, and you have all the help that is beneficial for you. I remember reading some books about Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce, I think he lived late 1800s, and he passed away in 1945. But he was able to go in trance for his clients, and afterwards he had no rational memory of what was going on in trance. But during trance, he was able to channel specific medical information for the client. He knew what was going on, why the problem was there, and he even advised to go to a specific doctor with a specific plan. He did not do the healing, but he provided this information. So already late 1800s, people had access to this information. We are not the first to do this.
No.
We didn't discover it.
No.
We only optimize it. Not only for finding out what the actual root cause is, but also for the healing. I can give numerous examples. For example, one day a client came with breathing problems. And I knew, have you ever heard of Dr. Konstantin Buteyko? Have you ever
Nope.
heard of him? No?
No,
Uh,
you'll
he, he
enlighten me.
was he, he was born in Kiev in Ukraine, and then afterwards he went to Moscow in Russia. And he found out that our breathing is too shallow. And by breathing more deeper, more intense, our physical body yeah, is more healthy. So the breathing aspect is according to him was really important, and he healed many people only by changing
The breath.
the breathing the
Yep.
breath and the breathing process. Now you can actually all over the world you can follow a training of the Buteyko breathing training. It is one of the most intense breathing trainings you can have. You need 50 minutes a day practicing and training yourself for during many months. But afterwards, it is really beneficial. Now I think, wow, okay, we have this experience with Dr. Hammer. I know I have access to Dr. Bates. This client has a breathing problem. I thought, well, can I make a connection with Dr. Buteyko? Sure. And I asked, well, Dr. Buteyko, it seems that this person has a breathing issue. Is this true? Is this also true according to your knowledge? Yeah, it was the case. And I knew, because I followed once a training of Dr. Buteyko, so I knew they focus on breathing more deeply. So you rebalance the CO2 and the oxygen more. It is being optimized by the breathing techniques. I said, well, Dr. Buteyko, can you help my client to rebalance the oxygen and CO2? Sure. Okay, please do it and let me know when that's done. And 30 seconds later, he saw breathing the breathing process, which is done by the nervous system, which it's nearly impossible to access through your conscious mind. It was reprogrammed in less than 30 seconds. So there the possibilities of joining forces with this expert team, this wise part is so beneficial for every one of us that it's nearly too good to be true. It's
That's what most people will be saying at the moment.
yeah,
But it's not
yeah,
true, because actually it's this in anybody's concept. If you know there's a web out there, there's a field out there, there's everything from the time that any time that people get ideas, they get them at similar times. They all do this stuff because the information is in the field and it's accessed. So all Christophe has been doing is accessing that information through the superconscious mind, which is the part of us that can do anything.
yeah, yeah.
And that's simply put, but it's incredible. So you know, Christophe, when I first met you, you were very the trader. You were, you know, you were still very analytical. And now nobody would recognize you because you've gone so far into your optimum thinking, into your openness of thinking and experimenting and moving us forward. And I really thank you for that.
Well, it was the case. It was a process, of course. It's not from
Yeah.
one day to another. It was
No.
a process. But because I had the actual experience of having a bad health, like the sleep apnea, and
Yeah.
afterwards I had also a tumor in my belly. Um, by having the experience that I was able to let go of all the problems, and my physical health has been never better as it is now.
Hmm.
So if you can walk the talk, then it's more easy to and more convincing also to the clients.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
surely you have had the same experiences.
Yeah, I've had the same experiences. Obviously, I didn't do the eye stuff yet, but there's definitely been a change in my life over the 20 years that I've been doing hypnosis, and most of it comes from the superconscious mind connection. Everything I do in my life, I live through the superconscious, pretty much. I'm always open to the possibility that it can help.
And it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, we're back to 30 seconds left, so I think I'll just sort of wrap this up till we go through the break. And I want you just to think about what Christophe is saying. He's open to all possibilities. Now, if you go to someone who has that openness, that possibility, it helps you have an openness of possibility. And we have all these limiting beliefs, like this is that, and anyway, we'll talk about that later because I have to go to break now. See you on the other side.
Week's program.
So, Christophe, I'm just going to talk about, so people out there are saying, so we can heal everyone? Big question mark. Now, superconscious mind can heal everyone who's open enough to accept it. That's the big deal. The big deal is that the client has to be open to possibility. And that's all I ever ask of my clients, just be open to possibility. And if that open to possibility means that you can get full out healing, that'd be great. And if it means that you only get certain amount of healing, that would be fine. But understand, miracles that happen in the chair are created by people who are sitting there with open to possibility. Isn't that true? You would agree with me, Christophe?
Exactly.
So how do we get people to open up their minds to that?
By living a happy life,
Yeah.
by showing that it is possible,
Yeah.
by doing a good job in day-to-day life, by raising our children, that by helping our clients, that it is possible, and slowly but surely more and more people are involved and are open to the possibility that they don't need the pharmaceutical industry to get rid of their problem, that they actually can do it by themselves.
Yeah.
And more,
it's taking ownership of yourself and responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing we can do is make the example, and provide the information, make sure that our children know about this, and move forward.
And I think it's important for people to understand that if you have limiting beliefs, meaning I can't do this because the doctor says this isn't working or whatever, that means that you need to follow that other thing, because your limiting beliefs will be there and allow you. But if you're open to possibility, maybe you can do both. Maybe you can do certain things. Maybe your limiting belief can be moved to the next notch of belief. And so I would never tell you, don't go to doctors. I would never tell you that. But I would say, like I've always said, take responsibility for your health.
Yeah. We can also work with pregnant people. And we have a program, it's called Foundational Birthing,
yes,
which is absolutely fantastic. It's created by you, Ines, together with Sean Gallagher, midwife. And just by combining the best of both worlds, by combining all the knowledge of hypnosis and working with the superconscious mind with all the work that normally is done during the um, the birthing, but also the, how do you call it in English?
Yeah, and
The
also
9
the
months
family.
before.
Yeah, yeah, all 9 months before, and also the family unit,
Yeah,
because the family unit is very, kids are born, and then the other one feels a little less than, not loved again for certain reasons, whatever. So we actually include all that kind of work in the birthing program, which is more than I can say for anything else. It's also about having a comfortable birth, definitely, so you stay comfortable. But there's also all kinds of other aspects of how the family runs together, how the bonding happens, all those things. And if you
yeah,
just imagine, and for me, this is the point, is we start the baby off at full love, full acceptance of everything. And that doesn't mean that life won't happen along the way, but they start off on a very high note
yeah.
internally.
I want to repeat that. So by using our methods of hypnosis, of trance, by connecting with the superconscious mind, dear listeners, we can actually communicate also with the baby, and we can make sure that the baby is being loved, being has access to self-love. So when it is born, it is welcomed. The family is ready, and it has a completely different start as we did. So imagine you growing up with a fully adapted self-love of 100% and connection with mom and dad. You would have for sure a different life. So if we can do that and help also the babies, the unborn babies at this stage, in 20 years, we get a completely different generation.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
which
have
would
high
be
hopes, don't we?
worthwhile.
We mean our goals are far reaching.
Of
But
course.
we now have well over 1,000 practitioners of doing this, and maybe not to the extents you've experimented to, but we're definitely on the road to changing. And the more people we can allow that to change, the more other people will change.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
about this intergenerational moving forwards, I want to tell you about a different process in the body, which is worthwhile communicating with the listeners. A process which we verified many times through superconscious mind. And I did not invent this process, nor am I the first to describe this, but it is extremely important everyone knows about it. So let's discuss this process in our body, and not only mysterious, because it doesn't present itself in 3D, but elusive. We don't know how to get it really, and yet it belongs to all of us. It's my firm belief that we as a human being are not working on full capacity. And the process that I would like to present to you is called innate. For Dutch and the Flemish speaking listeners, I translated to het autonome. Het is niet het autonome zenuwstelsel, het is nog iets anders. It's not a nervous system itself, it's something else. It's perhaps one of the only systems in the body that is not centralized. Difficult to explain, maybe difficult to believe, not yet discovered by general science, but it has been presented itself over and over again. And what we have in our DNA is difficult to explain. And the trillions of DNA molecules in our body are all in communication with each other at all time. And this has to be the case if you think about it. Which cell knows where it has to go and what it needs? Innate, this system, innate, is responsible for that. The DNA is esoteric central control. It is a field of information around the trillions pieces of DNA that knows itself as one entity. One entity is innate. So you might say that it is the combination of the DNA cells in your body seen as one thing. It is decentralized. There is not one organ in the body responsible for innate. Every single part of the body is involved in the smart body system. And those practitioners who use, for example, kinesiology or muscle testing, they know they are talking to a field, and not an organ, not a brain. It's body-wide. Innate is everywhere. It's in our fingers, it's in our muscles, it's in our hair. And when a human being, for example, has a spinal cord severed in an accident, broken, a man or a woman in a chair who cannot move, but their head. Does it make sense to you that all of the nerves in the spine are severed or cut, and that other parts in the body continue to work? And the heart continues to work, the digestion continues, reproduction continues, most of the functions below the neck continue, and yet the brain is not sending signals anymore through the nerves. And how do you explain that? It's innate. It's the DNA which keeps you alive. Even if the wires from the brain or to the brain are damaged, innate is connected to the higher self, is connected to a wise part, and our brain is programmed for corporeal survival. Innate, this system is programmed for spiritual survival. And then what is the mandate? Our brain keeps us safe day to day corporally, but innate, our DNA knows what to do everything to allow an awakening to take place, to allow humanity to cross the bridge and moves into an ascended status, a system of spiritual survival, to push us forward into spiritual awareness. And in the process, innate also crosses the bridge of corporeal chemistry in very different way. So innate is responsive for spontaneous remission. How can you have a disease disappeared overnight? How is it possible that Dr. Hammer can help us, Dr. Bates can help us with eyesight? That's spontaneous remission. That's innate who is doing all this stuff. And we, by using hypnosis and accessing the superconscious mind, we can communicate also with innate and reprogram it. So I think that's also worthwhile.
Guess what? We're down to 2 minutes. I'd hate to see the end of the show. So maybe just tie it up and know that I think you need to give your information on this show, because I know it'll be on the paper, but people will want to get in touch with you, and on podcasts, they don't see that.
They can access my website, which is called www.unbeterplan.be. It's in Dutch, but everyone can communicate with me through email or Facebook. My email is info@unbeterplan, better plan, but in Dutch.
You better spell it
.be.
for them. Spell it for them.
Info@unbeterplan, EENBETERPLAN.be.
And now you can speak Flemish, a better plan.
Indeed. And on Facebook, you can find me on Christophe Een Beter Plan.
Yes.
So language is not a barrier for us.
No. And so I want to just tie this together because this has been an incredible show. And I mean, we've been on the journey similarly together, but you've definitely just upped the game a lot, Christophe. And I want to thank
Well, that's thanks to you also. Huh?
Well, I might have started you off, but I think you're really good at going it. Your mind is the benefit of the analytical mind combined with the spiritual mind. There we are.
Exactly.
That's what you are.
Exactly.
And I guess we'll just have to say goodbye on that note. See you next time and have a great week.
Well, thank you so much for all the listeners and for you for having me on the show.